Now this short video clip just gives teachers the basic understanding of what is required for the planning of creative arts when it comes to senior phase. Now creative arts consists of 4 different disciplines. You've got dance, drama, music and visual arts. And the time allocated to creative arts is 2 hours per week. This means that there's 1 hour per art form, as in senior phase you're required to choose any 2 of the art forms. Now let's have a look and see what do the learners learn in each of the art forms. Well, dance, they look at dance performance, improvisation and composition, and then of course the dance theory. In drama, learners are encouraged to develop dramatic skills. They look at the elements of playmaking. They look at interpretation, performance of selected dramatic forms, appreciation, reflection of drama, and then looking at media and careers. In music, there's music literacy, music listening, and then of course the performing and the creating of music. In visual arts, they look at creating in 2D, 3D, and then visual literacy. Now let's have a look at what are the formal assessment tasks and how do we calculate these every term. Now each term you're going to have 2 art forms that you are including in the formal assessment, and you'll notice there's a practical assessment for the one art form and a practical assessment for the other art form. Each of these together form 100% of the marks, balanced 50 and 50. In term 2, there's both a practical and a written component for each of the art forms. So you'll notice that there are 4 assignments that the learners have to do. For art form 1, they have to do a practical assessment, and then they have to do either a written assignment or a test. Each of those counting 25%, making up 50% of the marks for art form 1. The second art form is going to also do a practical assessment and then a written assignment or a test. Each of these again making up 25%, together 50%, making up the overall term mark of 100%. Term 3, very similar to term 1 again, each art form having a practical assessment which counts 50% towards the final mark, for that term that is. In term 4, you're dealing with just examinations, and each art form has 2 examinations, a practical component and a written component. The practical component counts more, you'll see it counts 20%, whereas the written examination only counts 10%. So you've got for each art form counting 30% with a balance bit of 20% of that 30% from the practical and 10% of that 30% from the written examination. That comes from both the art forms and together making up 60% of the final marks. So if you have a look at how do we calculate the final marks and weighting for the progression and promotion code, well, you've got term 1, 2, and 3, all of those school-based assessments together contributing to 40% of the final mark. And remember, that's from both of the forms of art. Your term 4 is just your end-of-year exam, and that counts 60%. Once again, from both art forms. Together, that counts 100%, which gives you a mark, which can be converted into a code for the learner at the end of the year. Now, what should creative arts teachers keep in mind when they're teaching? Well, the first is that the learners will not have the basic knowledge and skills that they might have gained previously in the curriculum. So in intermediate phase, although they touch on a lot of the knowledge and skills, we need to make sure that these learners develop them in senior phase. What's also important to remember that learners need to be introduced to the subject in an enthusiastic way. So every lesson needs to be fun and practical. You want to develop their interest and you want them to really enjoy and develop the skills of that art form.